Hello, everyone. I am Crystal Joseph, licensed clinical professional counselor in the state of Maryland, licensed professional counselor in Virginia, and an approved clinical supervisor in both states. I have been listed in the Therapy for Black Girl directory for almost the entirety that the directory has been in existence, so that's between 6 and 8 years. And the practice is located in downtown Silver Spring, Maryland, with a satellite virtual location in Virginia. There's going to be a level of ways it shows up. It may affect your customer service, baseline of how you interact and communicate with the client. It will also affect the therapeutic forum in the sense of your physical presence as dictated and observed by your client or patient. Burnout can also affect your thought process and your sleep. So if you are thinking that today is going to be a bad day because something didn't happen or life is just lifing, that's going to show up as you interact with your clients. And it can look a lot of different ways. Clients, I don't know that if people understand this, but clients actually are quote unquote interviewing us in the same way that we're interviewing them throughout that 50, 60 minutes. And so I think it's important to be mindful of how you show up and be self-aware about what your needs are as a therapist so that you can take care of that before attempting to be a vessel and pour into someone else. More conversation. So I believe that's a dynamic and multifaceted answer. The space of social media and all the different platforms, I believe, provide the ability for us to become more visible. For the sake of privacy and HIPAA and confidentiality, I do believe that there is still a misnomer and stigma surrounding what the therapeutic forum actually looks like. And so I believe that if we as the professional remove that veil and have more conversations as real people, like we're human first before we have all these other letters behind our name, like our mama named us what she named us. And so I think if we present to the public as, hey, I'm someone with lived experience, I also have professional experience and training, and combining those two knowledge spaces, I'm here to help you. But more conversation and communication is needed about what we do, how we do it, why we do it. I think some of the frustrating points is the context of do no harm, but also psychoeducation and educating the communities about the processes of therapy, advocating in the mental health system to get help. And sometimes this terminology turns into a buzzword. And so then the buzzword might get taken out of context, and then we're having to do damage control as the professional on the back end to say, hey, no, that's not exactly what I do. That's not exactly how I do it. This is how I do it. And that unfortunately can increase stigma. And so my hope is that people are taking the time to educate themselves with the professionals that they are getting in contact with, learning the differences of the types of professionals, but then interviewing us in the same way that we're interviewing you all in the consultations to say like, hey, is this going to be a good fit? Maybe this won't be a good fit. I'm shopping around. Let me try something else. So definitely increase visibility coming outside of your armchair or coming off your armchair, coming off the couch, getting into the community, and really showing up as your full self, I believe will help create that visibility and open up the communication pathways. So I will self-disclose a little bit. I actually had some colleagues show up for me approximately 2 months ago. So I am coming off of medical leave from having surgery, and due to legal and ethical nuances of how my practice is modeled and set up, and the fact that I have an internship and residency program, I legally have to continue providing clinical supervision to those under my supervision. And so I'm going to be out. I can't do both. I'm on medical leave. So I reached out to some colleagues who are also dear friends, and they showed up for me. They covered the practice for any clinical emergency ethical concerns. They also provided clinical supervision because they also are approved clinical supervisors as well. And so this allowed me to rest. This allowed me to not really worry or think about anything concerning the practice or the team or the interns. And this is reciprocated. So likewise, if they reach out to me, I'm going to help them in the best way that I can within my availability. And so currently I am doing just that actually for another colleague. I'm covering their practice. I also think other ways that we can show up is sharing the resources that we have amongst each other, pooling the resources, whether that be social equity, social capital, human capital. Can I borrow some printer paper? Hey, do you have the bandwidth to meet me here for networking? All of those things. And so the more shared responsibilities that we have, the farther that we can go as a community. And so I also think that showing up in a safe way, providing a safe space to bounce ideas off of each other or any sort of business concerns. I think a lot of times private practice in particular, where I sit, can be a very isolating experience. And so until you build out that network and build out that community, you will continue to feel as if you've isolated yourself. From an industrialism perspective, American capitalism perspective, we are taught very young that competition is healthy and competition is needed and individualism is the way to go. But from a cultural perspective, I believe as Black people and people of color, we need to, reach out and touch, as the old hymn says. So I think we need to be mindful of how much of our time is spent nose down grinding, blinders on, let's get it done, let's hustle, versus, hey, let me take this load off a little bit and talk to the person next to me, talk to my clinical neighbor, talk to the person I follow on Instagram, just to see like, hey, is there any way that we can combine our forces and be better for ourselves professionally, but be better for our communities? So I believe those are ways to show up, but definitely community building is important. In my personal and professional life, I'm very much like, I got this, I'm independent, I can do it myself. And so I think sometimes the fear in not asking, or why we don't ask, is because we think no one will show up for us. Or maybe in the past we've been burned and someone didn't, so then we withdraw, maintain that notion, and then we don't ask. So that can be really detrimental to both the professional and the personal worlds that we sit in. So for new therapists, my heart is definitely to the new and next generation of therapists. I would definitely say trust the process. Please don't give up. Whatever that means for you, this is so much bigger than us. Help seeking behaviors will be increasing by 28% over the next 10 years, according to the Department of Labor and Statistics. And so I want you to know that even though the system may seem a little funky, or you have to navigate certain thresholds to be able to practice, please don't give up. I also want you to know to be authentic and show up as your whole self. Clients can can kind of peep game when you're putting on airs and you're not really who you say you are, or something is different in person versus how you showed up on social media platforms, or if they happen to run into you in public. So please be your authentic self and show up as your whole self. And then lastly, I would say rest. The work doesn't stop, it keeps going. The need will be there. The emails will be there. The clients will be there. So please take your time. Please rest. Step away when you need to. Enjoy life. We only get one. Tomorrow is not promised. So please make sure that you are really doing what you need to do for yourself so that you can show up and be your best self for others.